Hi, this is Alex from PHP Academy and welcome to this CSS tutorial on styling link underlines. Now in this tutorial we're going to be creating a link. We're going to be removing the default underline nature of links as your browser would render them by default, which you may have come across before. But then we're going to add a cool underline dashed effect, and it sort of gives it a meaning of a link, so it would appear as a link on your page. It just makes it that little bit more visible as a link without having to make the text bold or a different color. And then we're going to be looking at a hover effect over it, a simple hover effect. Now this is a very basic example of it, but there are many more things that you could do. I'm just going to be creating a dashed underline or a dashed line underneath my link, but you can obviously go ahead and choose different colors, different hover effects, different active states, different visited states, just things like that. But in this case we're just going to look at a short example that's going to get you aware of how you can actually start doing this. So let's go ahead and first of all create a link on our page. So I'm just going to create an anchor tag here, and inside I'm just going to write this is a link. The link to, I'm just going to put a hash because we're not actually linking to anything. Now by default our browser renders it like this, so you'll notice that we've got this purple color here, which is visited because I've visited a hash. That's probably from another tutorial or something. When I click down we get this red color, that's the active state, and obviously the state before this is like a blue color, which is nothing, it's just the link state. We've also got an underline here, which frankly on a page, if you have links underlined, it tends to look a bit messy, because we've got this solid horrible line underneath. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be styling this up. We're going to be keeping a line, but we're going to be doing something slightly different to create a better effect. So we're going to be creating a dashed line underneath. So what we first of all need to do is strip down this link. We need to get rid of all the default styling, then go ahead and apply this border to it. So it's actually relatively straightforward. It's not complicated at all, and you get a really nice effect out of this. So I've got my primary.css file linked to my page. Let's go ahead and start styling our links up. So the first thing we want to do is choose a and then the pseudo class link. We're also then going to say a hover, and then we're going to say a active, and then we're going to say a visited. So we're going to be selecting all of the states of a link, and then we can start styling them. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove hover and do a different state for that in just a moment. Okay, so what do we want to do? Well, first of all, I want to change the default color, and I want it just one solid color. So assuming that all the rest of my text is black, I'm going to keep it in line with that, and I'm going to style the text color to be black. Let's go ahead and just preview that in the browser. Okay, so you can see that if I click down on it, hover over it, it stays black whatever happens. So we've just literally got a black link. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use text decoration, and I'm going to set the text decoration property value as none. Sorry, not underlined. We want to remove the underline. So now when I refresh, you see that the underline has gone. Now you might have thought, well, we're adding this dashed underline. Why can't we keep text decoration on? Well, the answer is that text decoration can be set to underlined, but we can't actually set how we want that underline to display. It will literally just display, an underline on it, a solid underline. There's no option to choose how this underline is displayed. So what we want to do is we want to not hack, but almost do something a bit different and off of what we should be doing to create this underline property. So at the moment we've got a link on our page, no underline and black. So it's a plain link. It will blend in with the rest of our text. Now we want to go ahead and create an effect that allows us to show that this is a link, but not overpowering, so not like an underline. So what we do is we use the border bottom property. So obviously if you've dealt with borders before, you'll know that we can just set a border to most elements. A elements are by default displayed like an inline element. So we don't need to change it to display block because we can still set borders around this element. If, for example, I set a border, for example, of 1 pixel solid and black, so I'm using the shorthand border property here, we would get this result. So we'd see this border around the edge of here. Now, if you take away the left hand, the right hand, and the top, you can see that we've actually got a border underneath that matches the width of the content. It's not too low down from the text, so it's a perfect option to go ahead and add our own custom underline in. So I'm going to be using border bottom just to specify the border that I want on the bottom. So the left, the right, and the top will, not show a border. And I'm going to choose 1 pixel, dashed, and then I'm going to choose a lighter grey colour. So, AAA. We don't want it to be black because that avoids the point. It will be too, in your face, but I'm going to choose AAA. So now when I refresh, you get this nice underline that you think, oh, I know that's a link, it's got an underline, although it's very subtle, and it just adds a bit of character to the page without overpowering that link. So now that we've got this border, we can go ahead and choose the hover pseudo class, and we can choose to style this up. Extremely simple. We're just going to pull this down here, and we're just going to say border bottom color. So we're using the border bottom color property, and I'm just going to set that to black. So when we hover over this, you can see that we've got this, black color. Now, actually what we're doing here is, slightly wrong, because we're putting this hover state after our active and visited state. So really what we should be doing is we should be separating these out a bit, but I'm going to leave them as they are for now. So on hover, we see that the line underneath changes to black. You could also do something cool like border bottom style dotted, for example. So when you hover over, can you see that that sort of blends in a bit? That's because we are changing the underline style to dotted, which doesn't add dashes, it adds just lots of little dots, so all of the same width. And you can see it almost like a blur. It looks quite nice. So there are endless ways to do this, but just by using border bottom, we've created an effect on a link that's not by default the text underline. It doesn't look too strong on the link. So that's how we create an underline effect in CSS.